Ciso. Oh, it's fabulous! A strike to get you up off your seats.
Hello, welcome to Seagulls Social. This is definitely the first take of me trying to do this. It's the Ajax preview. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting one, Ben, because I genuinely don't know which way this is going to go. And Brighton in must-win games with manager bounces and all that sort of stuff going on. Historically, it's never great, is it? But how are you feeling ahead of not just Ajax, but in general, Brighton at the moment, mate?
More positive than have been in the past few weeks, to be honest. I said the probably lowest point in recent times was getting battered by Aston Villa. But I think, and obviously we weren't, I think it was you, Adam, and Louis that was done the City review. So I don't really say much, but I feel like the second half was definitely more positive, and it could take so many positives from that performance. I guess it looks like we're becoming like a second half team. You know, we concede early, and then we have to fight back. We saw it against Marseille. We were much better in the second half. As long as we can get 3 points against Ajax, that is the main thing, because we really need 3 points against them. And like you said, with the manager bounce, I did say the other day when I saw it, I was thinking, why do we always play a team on the manager bounce? We always get it. Why always me? Maybe not immediately the manager bounce, but maybe the second game or the third game. I remember it was during that period when we played against Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa. And it was during that period I feel like we played so many different new manager bounces. And it's happened again.
Lampard as well, Chelsea last year, remember?
Yeah.
We seem to have had it quite a lot.
We do. And now we've got Ajax as well in a game where it's so huge for us to get 3 points. And you know, it's a proven theory. People might say, oh, it's a lie because they get sacked for a reason because the team's performing rubbish. But at the end of the day, the players are then trying to play at their very best to stay in the team to impress the new manager. And obviously we'll talk about the person that they've just brought in, Ryan. I don't really know much about him. I don't think you do, which if you don't, I don't think many people probably do, unless you're the European lad account on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he probably knows too much as well. I mean, I must admit, I looked him up a little bit, only just before we started filming with you, but he managed the Greek team. It was his last job, and he lost that in 2021. So he was there only for a couple of years from 2019. And then he was at Zwolle beforehand, and only lasted a year there. And then Melbourne City from 2013 to 2017. So since 2017, he's had one job, and that was Zwolle, club career.
Since
Melbourne
2017?
City, could count. Yeah, 2017. In fact, you know what? We go even further back. Since 2013, he's only managed Melbourne City and Zwolle, and before going to Greece, where I think he managed to do some sort of record at Greece where they lost or drew to such a small team. I think it was something like Liechtenstein or something like that. They managed to lose to a small side.
We're really setting this up well, aren't we,
insane.
Ryan? To get battered by this Blokes team.
I mean, he's called Van to Ship, and you think, well, if he can manage to steer to Ship, that's awful. That was so bad. I'm sorry.
No, that was brilliant. That's my kind of banter.
I tried it. I mean, it was a bit of a sinking ship. It's Ajax at the minute, and I think it's all around at the moment as well. Because from an Ajax fan the Ajax fan that I spoke to said that it seems to go a bit deeper than just manager, and it could be one where no matter, even if they got Pep Guardiola in, it's not a case of they could instantly improve. But regardless of who they get in, I still worry, because it's us, isn't it? You know what we're like. We've been a Brighton fan for a long time now. And no matter how I look at it, as you say, Ben, against City, the second half, we were good. But again, it's that same story of Marseille, of Aston Villa, of that last, 4 games now in a row where we've sort of just collapsed in a moment and then had to get ourselves out of it. It's almost like we had to go 2-0 down to start playing at the Etihad. And, I don't think we can afford to do it again, to be honest, because I don't know if you agree with this, but in my honest opinion, this is a must-win game by any stretch. Because I think if we don't win this one, it's a massive uphill task to qualify in this group any further, I think. I don't know about you, though. Yeah.
No, I think I do agree. It definitely feels like a must-win, because you don't want to be going into these group stage games where you need to rely on other results. That's never what you want. And I think I said it a few weeks ago when I felt like this was the group that was going to go right to the last game, where all 4 teams could probably qualify. A bit similar to when Tottenham and like Marseille had that Champions League group where all 4 teams could qualify. Marseille were top of the group, and then by full time they were bottom of the group. It could go down to one of them ones because it seems like all the teams are quite equal. I know Athens looked really good against us, and we were also pretty poor, but they could cause an upset. They could potentially beat Marseille, which might help us out if they're, or maybe even get a draw there, because I know they drew against Ajax, I'm pretty sure, which helped us out when we only drew against Marseille. So, no, I do agree. Getting 3 points against Ajax will be absolutely huge, because winning this group, the group of death in the Europa League, would be a pretty good thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be going down to the Conference League, although obviously we would have a better chance of going further. I feel like we want to stick in the bigger tournament for as long as possible, and hopefully get a massive team in the knockouts. That would be incredible for us.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much agree with you all the way through. I think it's tough because it's hard when you've got, obviously, Solly's come out of the team. We didn't get your thoughts on Solly.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, you may as well talk about that now quick.
Yeah. I was just hearing that video that came out of, I think, one of the mics on the touchline or the pitch side picked up him. As soon as it went, he was going, my knee. And you could see he looked in so much pain. And immediately, just from watching it, you knew that something was wrong. It wasn't just like a little... I think the commentators thought it was his ankle. But immediately a lot of people did think it was going to be a really, really bad injury. And seeing it's between like 8 and 11 months or, something like almost a year, is heartbreaking for Solly March, who's been at the club for so long. And I know you were saying off air that it could potentially be the last time we ever see him play for Brighton. Being when he comes back, will he be the same player? What will we be like in it as a club when he comes back? We will probably have a lot of cover, a lot of stars. We've got a Dinger coming through that can replace him on the right. And obviously he's been playing at left back recently. You'd hope by then when he's back we'll have more fullback cover, because that's an issue in itself. But it's absolutely heartbreaking. It really is. Like, if we can imagine what we've been going through with Moda's absence, imagine what it's like with Solly March, who, is I don't know, his club legend is probably too far to say, but he's just been part of our club for so long, and he just feels part of the furniture. So it feels really weird with him being out. And obviously, he had an injury under Potter. I think Potter's first season, when he started off brilliantly and then was out for quite a few months. And it is pretty. That
was his knee as well, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
And it's very gutting because he's been so good for us, and he's finally scoring goals. His output's been incredible under De Zerbi. He's been that player that De Zerbi's turned into an absolute monster. And to see him now going to be missing for him for almost a year, it's absolutely heartbreaking as a Brighton fan. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think, obviously I've already said that it's such a shame on the other podcast, but, just to reiterate it, even just for the sake of the squad now as well, obviously no real fit left back going into Ajax is never ideal. Yes, you say we've got a Dingra who's been very good for us. I'd obviously probably done his best game against City, but again he's an option. Could potentially cause a bit of trouble for Ajax. It's just that left side is quite worrying to me. Yeah. We struggled a lot putting Milner in that right back slot. Obviously, we weren't playing against Doku, who's like an exceptional talent. Just don't do that again.
Please.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's hard, isn't it? Because you wanna be positive going into this, and I think probably only a couple of weeks ago I would have been. Obviously, on how we've been recently, we're in a bit of a weird spot, and that's been echoed by the manager. It's been echoed by Lewis Dunk going before the international break. Then we've come out of the international break. Obviously, we've played Manchester City. It's the last team you want to play coming out of an international break,
especially on them on the back of
three
losses. They're going to be wanting to come out firing.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, De Zerbi says we're in trouble, doesn't he, before the game because we've lost. They've lost their games. Yeah. Yeah, I must admit it's a bit of a sticky one. But yeah, all the credit to Solly, by the way, in his recovery. Hopefully, I know we've already said it, but we'll say it again. All the credit to him, and hopefully we get to at least see him play for us again, which would, even as a minimum, because you never know with these sort of injuries. Sometimes they can be career-ending at this point in his career. But hopefully not.
I will be praying for him.
Yeah,
I will be praying for that boy. I guess in terms of like who replaces him, I know Igor moved to the left, didn't he, when Solly came off? Because we brought Van Heck on. Yeah. So I'm guessing Igor maybe starts left back. I know Hinshelwood played right back and left back during pre-season, didn't he?
I was going to mention Hinsel, you know, because this is like a bit like an Alzate situation, isn't it? When he first broke in, started being played.
Where is he when
back.
you need him?
I mean, yeah, well, honestly, he's been getting decent results out in Liège. Why we got rid of him, I don't know. Obviously, he wanted to play a little bit longer, I guess. But yeah, Hinselwood's not a bad shout. Igor obviously moved there in that last game. Has got a slight history of playing left back and covering left back. But probably you'd I don't know about you, Ben, but you'd probably want to bank on Igor more than you'd want to bank on Hinselwood because, you know, bad game for Hinselwood and it's a wrecker for confidence, isn't it, ASH?
Yeah, no, I think I'd definitely start Igor over him, which means then you have a pretty solid defence. I mean, if you're starting Veltman at right back, Van Heck, Duncan, Igor, I wouldn't have any issues with that defence.
Back
would
three?
you want to be a back three? I don't know. Maybe stick with the four that we've been doing. Veltman against his old club. That's quite a nice story for him. So I'm sure he'll want to be starting. Whether De Zerbi starts him just for that story alone, probably not. But I imagine he'll be starting anyway. I feel like Lamptey could be a sub if he's fit, because I just don't really know with our players at the moment. But that back line probably sorts itself out. And God knows if you start Steele or Verbruggen, I don't really know. That's always up in the air, really.
Verbruggen for me. I think I love Steele. Don't get me wrong. I just think that now it's time to start Verbruggen. Just for I said it on the last game. I don't know if you on the last thing. But I don't know if you agree with this. But just for 10 games, say, you know, obviously the rotation thing that is what De Zerbi's trying to do. It's what Arteta's trying to do. It's coming under a lot of scrutiny in the media because it always will because it's different. But maybe just for the next 10 games, because we are leaking so many goals, it's not like we're coming into this with 2 or 3, 4 clean sheets. We're coming into this pretty horrendous in front at the back. So I don't know about you, would you just leave Verbruggen just for a bit and just let it all settle down a little bit, or keep switching and changing?
I mean, the stats don't lie about... So my friend actually sent me a stat from Who Scored, and it was the worst save success rates in the Premier League this season for people that have got more than 4 appearances. So Aaron Ramsdale's got the worst at 55%, James Trafford, the Burnley keeper, and then it's Verbruggen with 58%, Jason Steele 59%, David Raya 5th with 61%. So 4 of those 5 are the keepers that have been rotated, which kind of proves the fact that maybe rotating keepers isn't the best idea. And I mean, De Zerbi knows more than me. He's obviously got a vision for it. But if I was the manager, I think maybe I would give up with this goalkeeper rotation business, because it's clearly not working at Arsenal, and it's clearly not working at Brighton, because we are shipping goals for fun. And and we've got too many mistakes as well. I know Bart's had some mistakes in him as well. I think against Liverpool, and even the game before that, I can't remember when he featured, but he had a few mistakes there as well. The mistakes are costing us so much.
Yeah, it's more the shooting ourselves in the foot thing, isn't it? As we always say, and I suppose if you do rotate keepers, naturally you're going to be prone to a bit more, because there's going to be that lack of chemistry. We've had to move around our defence a lot. I'd like to think going into this game we can at least guess our back four and goalkeeper, just because I think that's what's going to be needed. We're going to need to almost know at least our foundation of our team before we just go into it, because I must admit, it's been quite tough sometimes to think about, that team, and then is that going to be able to cope? Because it's almost you're going in blind nearly every time. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say this is all on De Zerbi or anything. This is actually a good talking point, to be fair. Is this, you don't want to blame De Zerbi, but obviously he's never immune from criticism. Of course he's not. He's the manager. He makes decisions. You don't have to agree with all of them. But then also, alternatively, you can look at the club's backing. Do you then say, okay, maybe he should have been given that extra couple of players, which he made quite clear that didn't come through. He got a lot of attackers, didn't really get backed elsewhere on the pitch, if we're being honest.
Tried to get a fullback in, that Barco guy from Boca.
Ways.
That failed. So we were obviously looking for a fullback. Even at right back as well, we were trying to get that guy from Galatasaray, I'm pretty sure. Can't remember what his name was.
Yeah.
The guy with the dreads.
Bowie,
yeah. David Bowie. Great player, great singer. But we didn't get him as well. So we were clearly looking for a right back and left back, and we've gone into the season without doing that. I wouldn't say Eagles. We haven't bought him to be the left back replacement, but he can play there luckily, and like you said, has had history there. So I'm sure, De Zerbi's probably a little bit frustrated the fact that he hasn't got all of the players that he wants. But I guess you could say most clubs probably don't always get every single player or every single position they want in the transfer window. It's just the way football is. But at the same time, when I feel like those positions were very vital for us, and luckily for us, Lamptey has proven to be decent and a lot fitter this season, and also proven to be decent on the left. So if he is fit, he is that. I'd probably have Lamptey over Igor at left back if he is fit. Yeah, that'd be me.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think I'd probably call it a bit of a mix. Like, obviously, I'm a Brighton fan first before I do anything online, and I think that you're going to have opinions, right? And I think I don't think anyone's immune from criticism to say, but I'd say it's a bit of a mixture between the two. At the end of the day, De Zerbi's not got the tools for the job, has he? Like he was last season. For example, I think if you were to bring in João Pedro, Ansu Fati, etc., on top of McAllister, Caicedo, Colwell, etc., you've then got a super team. You've got a very good side.
Yeah, solid.
But putting
that's a
João
dream.
Pedro, Ansu Fati... Well, exactly. It's a team that's, it's competing with Villa and Newcastle for them Champions League spots. Fit in CISO. In CISO, yeah. So we had a team that was ready. Whereas now we've had to almost take out that core, not calling Colwell the core so much, but he was good for us. Bless you, Ben. And then you would call it Caicedo, McAllister as the key sort of components to that team last season. You take them out, but then add to the attack. It's probably unbalanced, isn't it, really? And that's probably the one thing that you'd say on De Zerbi's case if he ever wanted to say, look, I don't have the tools for the job. Okay, yeah, that's actually a fair argument, I think. But yeah, maybe when you look at it the other way and say, well, De Zerbi also making some very questionable decisions. Milner right back after being out for like 4 or 5 games. When we had Veltman,
he went off injured against Athens, didn't he? I think that was his last game for us, and that was a blessing in disguise. I hate to wish injuries upon people, but he was getting cooked down that side, and when he came off, we kind of looked a bit more solid. And yes, I mean, I know I tweeted it before the game, and I was quite frustrated I couldn't vent it on the podcast for the post-Man City, but when I saw the lineups, I thought about it. I was like, Doku's going to play. He's absolutely rapid, a very informed winger. I was thinking, who's the last person in the Premier League you probably want to put him up against? James Milner. And I was thinking, there's no way De Zerbi, there's no way James Milner at fullback is going to get started against him. Maybe if you bring him on for the last 10 minutes, but whatever. But when I saw him on the team sheet starting at right back, I was thinking, is he asking for a death wish? Doku against James Milner is not what you want. And then we saw that immediately that it was not paying off, and he got dragged off at half time. So maybe he's doing it because he needs to rotate. Maybe he's thinking about Ajax. Maybe he's giving Lamptey a rest because he wants to play him against Ajax potentially, which I can understand. And I mean, to be fair, De Zerbi at the beginning of the season did say this is always going to be a lot more of a tougher season with the new games in Europe. It wasn't ever going to be as successful as last season. Last season was just incredible. Don't get me wrong, this season is still amazing. Look where we are in the league still. That's a very good position to be in still.
100%.
The Europa League group stage is still wide open to qualify. That's very good. So I think, yes, at the moment we're kind of going through a rough spot, but once we're out of this, we've got some pretty nice fixtures, and I think we'll probably be back to our best after then. But at the moment, it's just been a bit of tough.
Yeah, I'll just finish up the bit of a not talk of the town by any stretch, but definitely been mentioned quite a bit. Obviously, you mentioned Alzate being out, but also Jakub Moder must be pretty close to coming back now. I mean, he's been teased quite a bit coming back. Obviously, we've got Julio coming back in December. So you're coming into New Year's. You've got Mazilu, isn't it, we signed? The winger coming in January.
Another one?
So that's an extra 3
I suppose we need
players.
him now with Solly out.
Well, we need to expect him to start now. I mean, this is what the unnecessary pressure that I had to put on at the beginning of the season was, because I said, because of the way we went in the summer, we had to then put the pressure on who we brought in. So the pressure had to be on João Pedro. The pressure had to be on Ansu Fati, because they have to perform, because we've gotten rid of what we got rid of. We had to put the pressure on Baleba because we've got rid of Caicedo and then gone all out in this guy. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say that the pressure has to be on Mazilu because he's the one that's been signed for solely March. But I think that's the take that people won't like to hear, isn't it? That's a bit closer perhaps to the club, is that actually, yeah, it's all well and good doing these alternative things, but also it needs to be greeted with the same expectation as what it is already, which yeah, maybe not always people will agree with, but we'll see. Yakamoto, Ben, do you think, I don't know, do you reckon he's even going to be good enough to come straight back into that 11? Is it going to take quite a long time just to ease him back in, do you reckon?
I was actually, funny enough, I was literally speaking about this at the gym like an hour ago, which is why I'm wearing this tragic top. I don't even know, I still don't know what position Moda's best at. Hopefully De Zerbi will try and figure that out if seeing him in training. We might see a brand new Yakamoto that, the beast that Solly March turned into under De Zerbi. Imagine if he can do that with Yakamoto, who showed ability. I know he gets a bit of criticism online by specific people on Twitter, but I think Yakamoto, there's definitely a player in there. Let's not forget Bayern Munich wanted him as well when we were trying to buy him, so there's obviously a reason for that. I think De Zerbi just needs to get that out of Yakamoto. But where does he play in this team? I have no idea. That's the tricky part. I really can't think. Obviously,
it's that midfield that's very confusing at the moment. I mean, to me, at the moment, you're looking at midfield. In fact, Ben, this is the next, probably the final point. But midfield-wise, we've got Baleba. Do you think it's time for Baleba and Gilmour to be alongside each other? Because we almost need to form that consistent sort of base again, don't we? Like we did with Caicedo and McAllister. Because that's probably what's missing the most, I think, since this season.
No, I think that could be a very good duo, and hopefully we can see that against Ajax. But then again, then you always ask, where does Gross come into it? That's always the thing. I feel like we have to start Gross. There's no way we can't. And I guess you could say play him as a 10, but I don't really think he works. He just has that floating position. So if you can fit Baleba, Gilmour and Gross in that team, then fine. But I still always like having two wingers.
We used to, didn't we? Because we did Gross, Caicedo and McAllister, didn't we? So I don't see any reason why not. Obviously, I don't know where the extra player comes from.
But I guess that's then when
we are so
that's probably the 10, isn't it? That's usually the 10, I think, that we have. Maybe my maths is doing me wrong, but then who do you drop? But I do agree. I would like to see that midfield, because once you get that consistent spine, which you've been saying for the past couple of months, then you'll probably see some better results and less mistakes in the team. But speaking of mistakes, though, Ajax, I know we kind of covered it a bit earlier, but they've been in shambolic form, like absolutely abysmal. They're second from bottom in the Eredivisie, the lowest ranking in the club's history. No win in 8 games. They're 22 points off the leaders PSV. And in their latest game away at Utrecht, they went 3-2 up in like the 60th minute, I want to say. They conceded 6 minutes later and went on to lose the game 4-3. They are in terrible, terrible, terrible form. So, 3 points.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, so what? I mean, it's hard because
we should beat as well. We should.
When you
we
take
should,
into consideration. Yeah, absolutely, we should beat them. I mean, to not call it a must-win game, I think is ridiculous. I think that this is a must-win game, no matter how you look at it. I mean, it's a team that's struggling so much. For us, it's in bad form anyway. I mean, you would call it bad form now. We're 5 winless, and we need to bounce back. We need our confidence back, because it's gone a lot. I'd say probably a bit. So that feeling of we can beat anyone isn't there at the minute, and we need that, because we're going into Ajax thinking, oh God, please. And then we've got Fulham. I'm thinking, oh God, please don't do that again. I actually agree. I think it's a must-win game against a pretty rubbish team at the moment. Yeah, and that historically at Brighton never works, does it?
No, we only like playing against the big teams that play against us. But I'd still imagine Ajax will still play their attacking football, which I'm assuming they're still trying to play, because they're Ajax at the end of the day. They're one of the giants in their country, and they are, you could call them a European giant. They definitely are, but they're just in terrible form. But they've got players there that probably
name wise.
I know they lost quite a lot of their stars. Alvarez, Kudus. I've definitely missed out quite a few there as well. That also left in the summer, but they have.
Yeah, they lost quite a lot.
They've got Steven Bergwijn, who's their captain, but
they got Brobbery as well, haven't they? Whatever his name was, absolute FIFA.
Oh, they've got Chuba Akpom
as well. I saw him a few times. Akpom, yeah. Oh my God, I've seen so many tweets about that saying, and Akpom hits it for 3 with that guy waking up from a nightmare.
Please no. Please no.
Yeah, that would be horrible, wouldn't it? Couldn't deal with that.
But I'm going to say, I'm going to do my score predictions and we'll wrap up. My
let's
score
push
prediction
you.
will
Yeah, go
be.
on.
I'm going to say we're going to win. I'm going to say we're going to win. Surely we're not going to get a clean sheet, but maybe we do this for once. For once we'll get a clean sheet. I'm going to say we're going to get a clean sheet, unbelievably, and we're going to win 2-0.
Okay. I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to twist the narrative just because of how it's been a little bit downbeat. Naturally, we've not been the best, right? And naturally, people feel downbeat when things aren't going so well. Let's put it this way. When we were dreaming about Europe last season, we were dreaming about nights like this, weren't we? We were dreaming about Amex under the floodlights, 8 o'clock kickoff against the big side. Ajax at home on a Thursday night was pretty much in the touch paper of what you would have wanted to like, wouldn't it? And I think that this is as much of written in the stars as you probably would have wanted it to be last season. So that's how I'm going to word it. And I'm going to look at it as this is the one. If you're going to ever have a moment, a night in the Europa League that we could have dreamed of, it's this. So a win against Ajax on Thursday, everything's different. Everything's different. Our mentality is different. Players' confidence is different. You know, no longer people are questioning De Zerbi's tweaks and changes. People aren't looking at the board for signings in the summer and in January. So it's a big, big game. And for that reason, we need a big, big win. So we're going to keep a clean sheet and win. It's time we started scoring some goals, Ben. I'm talking Evan Ferguson. I'm talking Ansu Fati. I'm talking João Pedro. Big, big players. 4-0 to Brighton. Big game, big win. Blow them out the water.
We can do it. We can do it. That's the thing.
I don't even believe myself when I do that, but you never know.
No, you do.
It's there, isn't it? It's there. It's in the stars. And we need to start rewriting them a little bit because it's been a little bit lethargic. And I'm
Let's
bored
announce
of
ourselves
lethargic.
on the European stage
back up again.
by thumping a former European great. And just a massive European giant. Let's just thump them 4-0 at the Amex. Easy. Bosh.
That'd do. Kick them while they're down. I mean, that's definitely what we need to do. So, we'll see. Next time we'll see you. Our faces will look very different to this, one way or another. They'll either be great and really, really happy and smug and can't believe what just happened, or this could be one of the most awkward starts to the podcast I reckon we've had for a long time. So we'll leave it on that note. Make sure you do comments below. What do you reckon? Are we doing score predictions or are we going to try and get some sort of narrative going?
Yeah, maybe say like who should start a left back. So you got Hinshelwood, Igor, or Lamptey. Maybe. Who do you think should start a left back? Because that's the biggest issue. If Lamptey's fit, yeah, Christ, girl, we're screwed.
The new manager about this is terrifying me. It's eating me alive. But we'll see. All right, get your thoughts on the left back situation, just us in general at the moment. What's going wrong? What is it in this club at the moment that's just not quite right? Because there's something missing, and it's that missing piece in the jigsaw is that you just can't find it. But we'll find it, I'm sure, at some point. But get your comments in below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Spotify, Apple Podcast, you know the drill. Make sure you do a review as well on our Spotify. It's been a while since we've had some of them, so we want to hear some. And until then, we'll see you after Ajax, before Fulham. Yeah, that's a pretty big weekend.
We'll try and record on Friday if we can.
See you soon.
Yeah,
if we can. Yeah, I'll hold you to that. See you in a bit.